Hi everyone. So in today's video, we are going to discuss about the concept of functions. So let us go to the concept functions. Now, what is mean by the function? Why we need functions? See, the definition of the function is it is a block of statements used to perform a particular task. This is the main definition of a function. Okay. Now, we know that every C program starts from the main function, right? Without the main function, we can't execute the program. But what do you mean by these functions we are going to discuss? These functions we are talking about are known as user-defined functions. Okay. Now, what is this main? This is not a user-defined function. This is, we call it as reserved function. Reserved function. Or we can say built-in function. Built-in functions. So not only main, we have printf, right? Printf is a function. Scanf is also a function. These functions are not user-defined functions. These are the predefined functions, or you can say built-in functions, which are available in the header files or library files. Now, the concept of functions we are talking about are known as user-defined functions. Means ourselves, we are the human beings going to create our own functions called user-defined functions. Any function is a block of statements used to perform a particular type of task. Okay, now what is the advantage of writing these functions? See, before moving on to the details, assume that here we are taking some example. You see here. Here there are three persons, right? First person, second person, third person. Right. Now here the boss is the first function. Assume that this is the main. And here this is built-in function. We know this built-in function. And this is user-defined function. Assume that user one function and this is user two function. Right. Now here the important thing is the execution of the C program should start from the main, must start from the main. Now the boss is the main. Only from the main you can go to user one function, next user two function. The execution starts from the main, and main is going to call the function user one, and the user one is going to call some other function. Right? Now the head of this is the main, and these two are the subordinates. Now in this case, this main function is called calling function, and these two user-defined functions are nothing but called functions. Called functions. This is very important terminology. The first one is calling function. These are the called functions. See, when the main is calling user one, the user one is going to perform its own function. Okay. After performing its own function, the user one must inform to the main that I have completed my task. So the user one is going to return its task to who? Main. Okay. Now assume that if the main is calling user one and user one is calling user two, in this case, what happened? The user must send its status upon completion of the work to whom? User one, and user one must send the control to the main. If main is calling directly user one and directly user two, then what do we have to do? After performing the function of user one and user two, these two sub functions must return their control to the main. Okay. Now, what I want to say is in the previous programs, okay, In the previous programs, what we have done is we have written the entire program only in the function in only one main function, right. Now assume that we have written one main program. In the main, we have written, assume that 1,000 lines of code, right. So if there is any error in the main or in the program which consists of the main consisting of 1,000 instructions, so how to find out that error? To locate the statement or the instruction where the error has happened among the 1,000 instructions is very, very difficult. So the main problem with this is debugging. What I want to say is, when you write a lengthy program within the only one main function, if there is an error that occurs in the program, then if you want to locate that error in a particular instruction, it is very difficult to search. The process of finding the error, the process of detecting the bug is very difficult. Okay, that is known as, the problem is called debugging problem. Now, not only this debugging problem, we don't have clear clarity. See, when you write the lengthy program like thousands of instructions in a single program, it is very difficult to understand for a layman. You are the developer, whenever you are the owner of the code, okay, every statement is written by you and you are able to understand the instruction that you have written. But what about others? Whenever others see your program, they are unable to understand your program properly. So that is the problem. Clarity is the main problem. So this is another disadvantage when you don't use functions. Okay, just we are using only built-in function main. So debugging is very problem and clarity is also very problem. So for these two important reasons, we are going for the concept of functions, or we say user-defined functions. So the functions are user-defined functions mainly used for improving the debugging concept, to provide the clarity, not only this, and also to provide modularity. We are using the concept of functions. Now, for example, assume that we have written 1,000 instructions, right? Now, I'm dividing the 1,000 instructions into 10 groups. Okay, how many groups? 10 groups. First group 100, second group 100, third, and so on, 10. 10 groups, last one 100. 10, 10 hundreds, okay, so 1,000, right? So we have divided the entire thousands instructions of program into 10 groups, each consisting of only 100, and assume that first I'm writing it as user 1 is the first block, user 2 is the second block. Then it is very easy to understand. Why? Because there is only 100 instructions in each and every group, right? Now user 1 is some kind of code, user 2 is some kind of code, like that. So here we have some clarity, and also it is very easy to find out the error, and also it provides easy understanding of 10 groups, or we can say 10 modules. So dividing this into groups or different types of modules provide the concept of modularity. So what I want to say is, the main advantage of functions, you are creating user-defined functions, is to have very easy debugging and clarity, and also modularity. So better to use the user-defined functions whenever the program is lengthy, right? But the user-defined functions calling is starts from the main only. Without main, you can't use user-defined functions. Now we will see how to write the user-defined functions. What is the syntax? Now, before going to see the syntax, we are going to have the types of user-defined functions. User-defined functions. Okay. All these user-defined functions are calling from the main. First one I'm writing this. First function I'm writing without, or I can write like that, a function without return type. Without return type. and without arguments. Just you remember without, right? And second one is a function without return type, without return type and with arguments, with arguments. Third one is a function with return type, return type and without arguments, without arguments. Now, fourth one is a function with return type and with arguments. Simply, you can say first one is without. This is first one. And second one is, without. Now, without, with. That you remember. So, how many types of user-defined functions are there? Four, right? So, in the coming classes, we will discuss how to write the syntax or what is the syntax of the first type, second type, third type, and fourth one. After that, we will write some sample programs using Visual Studio Code. So, with this, I'm going to close the session. Thank you for watching.